Hi again everybody. So today's video is probably the most anticipated one. It is about how to find a good site for your microhome or any other project. So I have some take homes from years of experience of seeing people who have bought good and bad sites, and I think these comments are relevant to everybody who's out looking for sites, or even people who have sites and they're trying to decide what is the best route forward for them. So I think best place to start is where to actually look for sites. So there's definitely, I've seen people who've had great deals on buying sites and people who've had terrible deals on buying sites. So I think what I would say, the best people I've seen who've made the best purchases on sites have actually purchased those sites from friends, family, colleagues, neighbours, the farmer down the road, things like that, where there's a personal connection and you're able to negotiate directly and you're not dealing in the broader marketplace for these sites. So that's always going to be my first recommendation to somebody. So go out for walks, go out cycling, go out for a drive, look at bits of land, look at sites and see if it's obvious who the owner is and go from there. Actually, don't be afraid to knock on a door. Sometimes that actually works. I think the other thing you can do when you're out walking, running, jogging with the dog is actually be mindful to look for gap sites that look like they're suitable for development. We'll come on to what makes a site suitable for development further on in this video, but I think if you see a site that you think looks like it would be good for a house, the thing to do then is to make a note of where it is, and you can actually go to the land registry and look up the owner of that piece of land and yourself. So that's a great way to identify a piece of land, find the owner, and then find a way to get in touch with that owner. So that's one avenue, I think. But I would definitely recommend try and look around rather than looking on the internet or looking on the market, general market for them. I think you'll have much more success traveling around, looking in the area where you want to buy a site. So I think to follow on from that is the places not to look for sites. And I think that's probably actually more relevant. We see a lot of plots and sites come through the office which have been bought at auction, and generally they are incredibly difficult to develop. They usually have some kind of hidden planning issue or some kind of hidden servicing issue that makes it very, very difficult. So we've really, in 20 years, we've yet to come across a site that's come out of the auctions which has been a good site to develop. There's always difficulties with it. So I would be very cautionary about that. We've obviously not seen sites from all the auction companies, but certainly from some of the more well-known ones, we do see there's issues with them. So I think the next thing then is, if you see a site, how do you make the assessment of whether it's suitable for a house or not? So that I think is a big question for a lot of people. So there's definitely things, initial things to check for. So servicing being the main one, drainage being actually the particular one to look at there, because it often getting electricity to a site will just require cost being paid. You know, it depends how far the nearest connection is. The drainage can be a little bit more complex because there's permissions required and things like that. So sites with drainage already in place are great. Sites with mains drainage, site with septic tank on it already is great. So these things can really help mitigate problems for you. That said, it's all usually manageable. I think to go on from that is planning issues, which is probably people's biggest question mark. So certainly in Scotland, you're not allowed to build in the countryside. You can't build in a field. There's rules against that. So we're then boxed in a situation of how do we identify a site that we can build on? So you can build where there has previously been buildings. You can build in areas that the council have identified in their local plan as areas for development. You can obviously demolish an existing building and replace with a new building. And there's certainly situations where if you're at the end of a row of houses, then it's not objectionable for that plot to be developed. I think there's other subtleties to that. So the practicalities are things like you can only build on around 40% of your site. You have to accommodate on-site parking on your site. You have to accommodate a front and back garden and a drying green on your site. So All these things take away from the area of land that is left for the house. So we need to be mindful of that in terms of site area as a whole. The next thing to come on there to really is what we're doing in terms of sites. We've had quite a lot of inquiries where people have asked us, do we have sites? We don't have sites at the moment, but we are investigating ways to help connect people with appropriate sites. So hopefully in a month or so we'll be able to announce some information about that, but it's being progressed. I think the general take home though on finding good sites is you really have to put feet on the ground and find the site yourself if you want to find a good deal. And even then, I think when you do, I would recommend caution at what you purchase. We say to a lot of potential customers just to contact the office and ask for an initial appraisal. We don't charge for that, and it stops people making bad decisions. So if we can ever help like that, just contact the office. We can certainly give a second opinion over the phone. It's helpful if you can send through a brochure or some photographs or the sales documents or something of the site and some indication of where it is, so we can look at it in a bit more detail for you. But usually within half an hour we can make a reasonable estimate of what's going to happen with that site for you and just talk through the main issues. So all the details, like usual, are on the page. You can get in touch. I'm sure you can find out how to get in touch with us easy enough. It's LH Architecture or Microhomes. And yeah, good luck finding a site.